Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Plymouth Community School Board for May 2nd, 2017. You'll join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first item is to set the agenda. Do we have any additions or corrections?
Yes, we have some additions. Resignations, we've got Phil Scott, internship coordinator, and then Lindsay Gorham, PHS math teacher, and then Carl Davis, Rob Carmichael, and Brad Parker, golf and basketball coaching. Appointments, Helen Corey, speech pathologist, Colton Schuler, and Katie McCormick, Service Center Summer Grounds, and Summer Food Program employees. Transfers, Danielle Jones, interventionist to first grade at Menominee, so it's just an internal transfer. The next one's an internal transfer too, is Marcy Begonia, second grade to interventionist, all at Menominee. Student activity request, PHS 9 through 12 ENL students to Bethel College in Mishawaka, Webster grade 3 to Homestead Dairy in Plymouth, and Webster grade 4 to Marshall County Museum. Donation reports, Riverside is added, business agenda removed, the word health from the science adoption for grades K through 4, and updated handbook information for PCSC and PHS, and updated grant information. And that's it.
With those additions and corrections, entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any questions? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 1.3, audience participation. We have quite an audience. Sorry, we don't have enough seating, so appreciate your patience. Are there any members of the audience that would like to speak to agenda items this evening? We'll have another chance near the end of the meeting if that were to change, but thank you again.
Mr. Samuelson.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
Do you have some basic sheet that tells the things that are on it? Because I don't have that.
It was on the table when you walked in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't see that.
Yes.
I'm an audience member, but I'd like to make a motion anyway.
I'm sorry?
I say I'm here in the audience, but I would like to make a motion anyway. And that being that I think there's quite a few folks here tonight that would like to say some things about everything that's going on. But I think they're unfamiliar with the process and that things have to be on the agenda. So I would ask that maybe for one night that be set aside and these folks have the opportunity to get up and say their piece, what they want to say.
Just for the record, could we have your name, please?
Jeff Zalesny, I'm editor of Marshall County Witness.
Thank you. I'm glad to talk about our process, and I think most public entities use a very similar process to provide an opportunity for, well, let me just talk about our process. We do have an agenda that is published and set in advance of the meeting, and clearly the purpose of that is to outline the business that the school board needs to conduct. We certainly welcome and provide opportunity for the public to come and ask questions or provide comments on those agenda items. And if there are things that folks want to have on the agenda or speak about to the school board, certainly contacting the central office in advance of a meeting. And I think it works both ways, and what I mean by that is to, for example, I don't know what's on your mind, but if you were to come up and ask questions about something that I wish I would have known so I could, if I need to prepare, or have information that I may or may not have with me because it's not on the agenda, I don't know that it's fair to you or fair to me, because we're not going to have a good conversation if I'm not aware of what that might be, or we have to come back to that. So it's not a process to stifle input. It's a process to have meaningful input. So that, I think, anybody can feel free to add to that, but that's our process.
Okay, if I can ask, I don't see on here at all of that's going on this evening concerning the new junior high school. When is that going to be something people can speak?
Well, actually, that would be item 3.2.
Okay, 3.2, maybe I missed it.
No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's a different bond issue. It actually is not on our agenda this evening.
Okay, when?
Well, we had a public hearing at our meeting last week.
Okay.
Or not last week, but last time.
So
This
is that the
a good-
only
this is-
time that's going to be talked about, or?
Yeah, this is a good example of what I'm talking about, because we have a timetable, and I could clearly indicate, I don't have that with me.
I just asked a simple question. Is that the only time that that's going to be talked about?
Clearly, no.
Oh, okay. So I asked, is there some time that it's going to be put on so people can speak?
Certainly.
Okay, and that is, when is that going to be?
I think it's the next meeting.
Pardon me?
I think it will be the next meeting,
Okay, and that is when?
June 6th.
second Tuesday.
June 6th.
June 6th, okay. Okay. So I think that's probably what a lot of these people are here about.
Okay?
Would you care to know who I am? You asked who he was.
Yes, I know who you are, but
Okay.
could you state your name for the
Mine
record?
is John Webster.
Thank you. Are there any other items on the agenda that somebody'd like to speak to? And I think at the end of the meeting, you all made an effort to be here. If you have questions, I think I'm fine taking those or comments. But since it's not on the agenda,
Sure.
we may or may not have.
And it's the
what we
first
need.
time that I've actually been here, so this is all something new to me.
Very good. Thank you for being here. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to section 2, the consent agenda. Are there items on the consent agenda that board members would like to consider separately? No? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to accept the consent agenda. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Excuse me, business transactions, 3.1, focus on learning. I think that's why a number of people are here.
Yes, exactly. And actually tonight, I mean, a lot of us say that this is always our favorite part of board meetings. We're actually blessed with 2 focus on learnings tonight. So we have Washington Discovery Academy, and they will be presenting first. And then after that, it'll be Webster Elementary. So Mr. Spencer, principal at Washington Discovery Academy, will introduce his staff and students.
Thank you, Mrs. Bussey. And so I'll be brief, but just want to start by recognizing something that happened at Washington that we're pretty proud of. And that last week, so we're part of the New Tech Network, so over 250 schools throughout the country, and kindergarten through 12th grade. And each year they select the best project in the entire network. And so we were excited and honored last week to be recognized as our 3rd grade team from last year with their project that they're going to talk about how they're doing it this year. But that project was selected as the best in network. So out of all those schools, our 3rd grade team was recognized. So I want to recognize those teachers. So last year's team was Maureen Goodwin, Lindsay Reisner, and then Courtney Young, who could not be here tonight, but was a part of that team. So then this year's team is doing the same project and made it even better. So we're excited. We'll present at the national conference this summer in St. Louis, but tonight they're going to, you get a preview of kind of what that project is this year. So I will turn it over to Maureen Goodwin, Lindsay Reisner, and then Katie Straub is part of that team. And then Alyssa Mintz was not able to be here, but she's the 4th member of the team. So the important part with the kids, tell me about their learning.
I'm not going to say much about it at all. The kids have practiced and made their own script, and they're going to say what they feel is important. So you guys can come stand up right in front here. I will work the slide deck for you. Right here, Tyler. I'll go ahead and introduce them. This is Tyler Martin, Thea Shepard, Jaden Eskew, and Olivia Birch, and they are all in my class this year. Okay.
The project that we are currently working on is called Model Superheroes Red Capes. We are doing this project to gain a sense of agency and perseverance, so that way we can raise money to give back to our real life superheroes. The main purpose of this project is to gain a sense of agency and perseverance. Agency is having a growth mindset and taking ownership over the journey. Perseverance is never giving up. The driving question for our entire project is how can I convince someone to do something even if it's challenging? So we have this driving question because we want to have a purpose for our learning. For our entry event, we filled out a survey and everybody discovered their strengths, and everybody had a poster with their name on it, and we all got to have a point of view of everybody's strengths. I liked doing the gallery walk because I got to see what other students thought about me, and that made me feel good. I liked doing the gallery walk because I liked sharing the feelings that I had for others in my class. This activity helped us realize what we are good at in life. I like doing the gallery walk because I can show people's feelings of what I think of them and what they think of me. During phase 1, we developed a sense of agency and perseverance. We developed a sense of agency and perseverance to see challenging and exciting things in life to become better than ourselves. In these books, during phase 1, we read these books to discover the characters displaying agency and perseverance, so that way we can learn how we can develop our sense of agency and perseverance. Our problem statement for phase 2 was how can we as self-motivated learners discover more about real-life superheroes so that we can become someone else's superhero. We were self-motivated learners during this phase because we wanted to learn more about these people so that we could take that to become a better hero ourselves. During phase 2, we read these books about real-life superheroes so that way we can know what we're going to raise the money for. Our problem statement for phase 3 is how can we as superheroes persuade others to join our 5K to show their sense of agency and perseverance so that we can give back to our real-life superheroes. During this phase, we discovered who we wanted to donate to, and we decided that we wanted to buy items for care packages for the servicemen and women in the military. We did a math connection to see if we did exercises to see if we can improve every minute we did them. After that, we made a bar graph showing what we improved on, and then we wrote our feelings out. Related activities we did for our 5K color run is exercising daily, and especially on Friday, which we ran/walked a mile, and we did an indoor activities along with that, and we did t-shirt designs, and this Friday we are going on a field trip to map out the run and make the color. That was the end of our slide. We hope you enjoyed, and are there any questions?
Go ahead.
For those that may not have seen your posters around the schools, when is your run and how do you sign up?
Our run is on May 20th. It is at 9 a.m. and there will be persuasive writings, a 4-paragraph persuasive essay in our run, in the newspaper, which will tell more about our run. So check that out, and it's at the Centennial Park by the tennis courts, and that's it.
You can also find the link to our sign up form on our school website. If you look down through events, find the color run, and there's a link to sign up. We'd love to see you there.
Do you know how many people you have signed up so far?
It's a lot more than we started with.
We love more, please sign
This is
up.
an internship, and we have like 16 or 17.
Yes, we have more than that now.
I told them all that positive thinking and that growth mindset is like just making people flock to the sign-up site and sign up.
So what made you decide to pick the servicemen and women?
We wanted to do this because they are our superheroes, and we wanted them to know how we feel about them protecting us.
Good choice. Any other questions for these fine students?
Excellent project. Good effort.
All right, and next up, we have Webster Elementary. So Carrie McGuire is the principal, and she's going to introduce her staff.
Yes, here with us this evening, we have Mrs. Lawson. She is the art teacher at Webster Menominee, as well as spending one day a week doing the high ability coordinating. And so we have some third and fourth grade students who presented at a science fair. So we picked 4 of their projects that they're bringing with them this evening to present to all of you.
And we're going to start with Logan's. Logan G.
We can, here might be a good spot. Sorry, but there's not a good table down here.
My name is Logan Gomez. I am a third grade student at Webster Elementary. I wanted to do this because I thought it would be cool. Well, it would do well. My hypothesis is I thought that sugar would work better than the others. I rolled it in sugar, and then I let it dry, and we boiled it in water, and put the stick in water for a week. Stevia made the most than real sugar than Zane. Conclusion. I was surprised because I was wrong. For our purpose, we are trying to test out which paper towel is stronger, more absorbent, and determine if the well-known brand is worth the extra cost. Our hypothesis is that Ultra would have won the strength test and Bounty would have won the absorbent test. For the cost per sheet, generic 1.68 cents and Bounty is 3.6 cents. And Ultra is 3 cents. Cost per roll. Generic was 89 cents per roll, and Bounty was $1.95 per roll. And Ultra paper towel was $1.65 per roll. And for the square foot per roll, generic was 35.6, Bounty was 42, and Ultra was 43. And for cost per square foot is generic was 2.5 cents, and Bounty was 4.6 cents, and Ultra was 3.8 cents. And the cost is quite a difference. Generic paper towel, which is from Martin's, is 89 cents for one roll, and Bounty is $3 and 89 cents for 2 rolls, and Ultra paper towel was $3.29 for 2 rolls. And for absorbency test results, generic absorbed 12 grams, Bounty absorbed 40 grams, and Ultra absorbed 36 grams at a 1 drip and 3 seconds. Bounty is 10% more potent than Ultra, and Ultra absorbed 3 times more than generic. Strength of wet paper towel. Generic was 1.638 kilograms, and Bounty was 1.732 kilograms. Ultra was 1.222 kilograms. Bounty was strength with wet paper towel. Bounty is 6% stronger than generic, but 40% stronger than Ultra. The strength of the generic makes it the best value for cleaning, but it is unable to absorb water. For absorbency test placements, Bounty was first, Ultra was second, and generic was third. So we would not recommend generic, which is from Martin's speaking. Strength test placement. For first place was Bounty, second place was generic, and third place was Ultra. And for conclusion, Bounty is also known as the grabber, or in fact more floated and stronger than the other 2 paper towels tested. From our view, the Bounty brand is what it is for cost, and that was our paper towel experience.
Very nice. See that?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Diaprio, and I am a 4th grader from Webster. I did my experiment because I wanted to show how the different ingredients change the structure and outcome of a cookie. My hypothesis is that all the cookies will look the same but taste different. My procedure was that I baked the original cookie and then I changed ingredients in different cookies. So my first cookie that I did different was flour. I added a half cup more flour. My second cookie was I used brown sugar instead of regular sugar. My third procedure was I did melted butter instead of a softened stick of butter. And then my fourth procedure was that I did baking powder instead of baking soda. And then my last procedure was I chilled the dough for 1 hour before baking. My results were that I thought the melted butter tasted the best and more flour did not, because it really just tasted like flour. So I came to my conclusions, which was that I was wrong and that my actual hypothesis was that, not my hypothesis, my conclusion was that all the cookies will look different and taste different.
So who tasted all your cookies? Did you eat them all? Or you and your family? Yeah.
Love your apron.
Yes, that's very cute.
Nice job, sweetie.
Good job.
Now, Here's some stats. Here.
Okay, so I did static electricity, and my hypothesis was we thought that static electricity would make things stick together. And my conclusion was the results prove that static electricity can make things stick together, which we thought it would. And my procedure was research static electricity and experiment with different materials to watch electrons flow. My purpose was find out how static electricity works. My results were insulating material between charged conductive materials helps you see whether electrons flow. So this, like when we do this, the electrons are flowing from the PVC pipe to the blanket, which the PVC pipe doesn't have enough electrons, so it's positively charged, and this is negatively charged. So it makes it flow. It attracts it, and it makes it move. And the flakes inside here are moving while the can is moving, because the flakes are attracted to the can, and the can's attracted to the PVC pipe. That's basically all.
Elizabeth wanted to give out her cookies. She asked if she could bring cookies. She brought the ones with the extra flour. The extra flour. Just go around and give each one if you want. They don't like it. There you go.
Wow. Thank you.
So which ones are you giving them? The original?
They're not so good.
Oh, that's the one she liked the best.
These are not the flower ones.
She had to do a lot of hard research for that, so.
Thank you.
Any questions for our students or staff here?
When was the
Comments
science
or-
fair? March 21st. Oh, okay.
Right
At the
before
school?
spring break. We actually did it in the cafeteria at Menominee,
Oh, okay.
because they have more parking there. And so she does both buildings together. But, yeah.
I guess I didn't think that Saturday was her thing.
Well, it was the Tuesday night?
Oh, no, I missed it. Next year I'll have to watch that.
Okay.
We had it right before the music performance, so we're trying to find a crowd.
Well, before you all, and you are all welcome to go home and do some more exciting projects. You know, we talk about this particular session as one of the things that we enjoy most on our agenda, and I think this is a very good reason why. You know, it troubles me when I read about comments that, you know, the schools aren't doing anything, the teachers aren't doing anything, we're kicking out students that don't know anything. That's not true. That's not true. And I applaud all of the students for what they're doing. I'm not sure I knew about electrons and photons or how to bake a cookie or how to choose a superhero, and to acknowledge what agency is at your age. That's awesome. We could all use a little more agency. And I really, really understand what you're talking about. So thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
And to have some awareness that you probably don't want to stick around for the rest of our meeting, we're going to allow you to leave and get your homework done or whatever the evening holds for you. But thank you all for being here. And thank you for the families for your support as well.
Webster and Mary decided to go out there and stand together because she would like to get a picture of all of you. I have four.
Good job, kid. Good job, young man.
And we still all at the same table.
Good job, kids.
Then one more cast.
They set the date.
Okay, move on to item 3.2, consider adoption of preliminary bond resolution for general obligation bond.
Yes. This preliminary bond resolution establishes the maximum amount to be borrowed, the maximum term of repayment, and the maximum interest. And it does not exceed $2 million.
And this is for the group of improvements that
Yes.
talked about with the last one.
This will be,
For these years,
I do have that list.
yeah, we will.
Okay. All right.
I would entertain a motion on the bond resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 3.3, consider adoption of declaration of intent to reimburse.
This is part of the GO bond, and if the school corporation pays any preliminary costs related to the project in advance of receiving the bond proceeds, it may want to reserve its ability to be reimbursed from bond proceeds after the closing. And the Internal Revenue Service requires that a school corporation declare its official intent to reimburse as documented in this resolution, and in order to reserve this ability to reimburse.
Heard the explanation, is there a motion?
So moved.
Whatever you want a second?
Second.
We have 2 motions, 2 seconds. Questions or comments? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 3.4, consider Central Regional Medical Center School Nurse Summer Contract Amendment.
Yes, this is amendment number 10, because they just keep adding on to the current contract and amend as needed. So this is just to get coverage for our students that are taking summer school courses, because you have to have a nurse on staff. And this is actually about $1,000 less than last year's summer school contract. So, entertain a motion to approve this.
Heard the explanation, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, questions? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 3.5, consider science adoption grades K through 4.
Yes, similar to last month, it was grades 5 through 12. Our elementary teachers, given that they are in 4 different buildings, it took a little bit more coordination to get them together, and we didn't want to rush into a decision. So we are presenting our final choices for science adoption to you this month. Lots of discussion around this. It's been a little while since we've adopted a new science text, so very excited to present our final choice to you guys tonight for your approval.
Any, well, let's get them on the table. Is there a motion?
Second.
Have motion and second. Any questions? I think we have a couple of folks that were on the committee. Any observations or comments? Not to put anybody on the spot. Hearing none, we have a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, somebody was ready. Oh, hi.
Hi, thank you. Could I ask if these are all hardback books or are they online?
It's blended, so it's both. There's a digital component, and then we also have some actual textbooks as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? We have motion and second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 3.6, review of handbook K through 12.
Mr. Olson and perhaps other members of the handbook committee are here this evening to just go through the changes that are being suggested.
Yeah, I have Mr. Spencer, Mr. Welch, and Mr. Hopple all here to kind of chime in on things specific to those buildings. We'll start with just the general handbook changes and kind of brief some broad strokes on some obvious things, change dates, to update those, change the immunizations, some minor cosmetic things like we found some places we use virtual days instead of e-learning, so we changed it all to e-learning. A parent had requested, when we have the Bowen Center Student Assistance Program, is there a way to have that number anonymously published in the handbook, so if a parent wanted to contact them anonymously instead of going through the guidance counselor or the school office, they could do that. So the committee thought that was a good idea, and so they've added the Bowen Center number for student assistance. Added to the AUP, sending mass emails. It's probably more of a high school issue, but we're seeing at some other levels where students are sending out just mass email chains of something they don't like, or not related to school, just in general. Or I'm doing a fundraiser for church, that kind of stuff. Amazingly, someone pointed out that it didn't say hoods under head coverings for things you should remove in the buildings. So added that to the dress code. Also added from a student request unnatural colored contact lenses, because it's becoming more of a trend, and some of them are pretty freaky looking to some of our younger students. Changed other tobacco-containing products to nicotine-containing products under tobacco use because of the advance of vape pens, which we'd already put in earlier. And then we changed immunizations as the infant health department. So we'll go through the addendums for each of the specific areas, and then I'll be back to talk about some of the others.
So in the elementary addendums, two things. One, very minor, just cleaning up some wording about computer care, just making sure that it was clear that it was expected at both home and at school. And then the other change was related to recess policy. And so working with Mr. Ted Brown, Director of Safety and Security, looked at the IHSAA policy and kind of coordinated so that at each of our levels that our policy aligns to that. So what is expected to go out to recess as far as temperature. Previously, heat was not addressed at all, so we added some wording to address heat concerns, and again aligns to IHSAA practices. And then just clarify, it used to be either a temperature or a wind chill, and it picked one number and went with the wind chill, again recommended with how IHSAA aligns that. So any questions about the elementary addendums? Mr. Walsh for Riverside.
Good evening. Riverside is also changing their recess policy with temperature. The next two changes are being practiced, but we have added them to the handbook. One is our absence policy when letters are getting sent home. We send letters home when students have missed 5, 7, and 9 days, and then at 10 days they're put on a contract. The last one is an addition of transportation expectations. So students have to, and this is particularly about bus riders, they have to ride the bus the entire trip. We're located relatively close here to the high school where the shuttle takes place. Students are not allowed to walk from the shuttle to Riverside and vice versa. It's a safety concern. So that's been added to the Riverside addendum. Any questions?
And then just a few changes for the junior high. Similar to what he has talked about with the transportation, same thing with the junior high about coming and going to the junior high. The other thing is a little clarification, a little bit about lockers, use of lockers. And then one of the main changes to the addendum is that we've clarified some things with point system we've added for this one. policy about classroom management things as well as office managed things in the classroom, and we've communicated that. It's in practice this year. I've received good feedback from parents and students and as well as teachers on that new policy. Questions or concerns from me about that? Okay.
Back to high school. Again, most of these come from our committees, which are students, teachers, and parents, some parent representatives. It's talked about ID cards at lunch. Nobody uses them, so the students said, can we just take that out of there? They noted that the small fee for lockers isn't in there, so again, cleaning stuff up. We are adding a Chinese club next year, which I think is big news. I think that's going to be really good. In fact, just this past month, Angel and Meiguan took some of our Chinese students to a competition at Valparaiso University. We had them, where several of them placed and did well. And we'll have another student be traveling to Valparaiso for a Midwest event. We're bringing in people from around the Midwest. So I think having a club will just further those types of activities that we're able to have students do. So I'm really happy that she's willing to take that on. We updated club sponsors and descriptions. For example, one thing, NFL, National Forensic League, Mr. Tardy pointed out, is changed their name to NSDA. Did I get that right? Okay, National Speech and Debate Association. They still have the NFL for recognizing honors, but they've changed the organization name. So just some kind of clean up there. NHS requirements, we moved it to reflect the 4.0 scale, so it's a 3.3 GPA now to be eligible for NHS. Another sort of big change, starting with next year's graduating class, we will be moving to potentially having 2 valedictorians. So we're going to round to 2 decimals that can lead multiple valedictorians, and because of having multiple valedictorians, we are removing salutatorians at this point. So that we'll hopefully recognize more kids at valedictorian. And then updated or added some language on drug testing policy. There was already a line in the handbook. It was pretty small. It's hard to see about basically the school had asked to drug test any student. We added some further language working with Mr. Hoonian to kind of clarify that and make it a little beefed up. And that's in response to, we're just having more and more students. The few issues we've had this year have been more related to pharmaceuticals as opposed to things that are easily detected just by talking to a student. Like alcohol, you can just follow the breath. Marijuana until vape pens and deodorant stuff, it was easier to detect. So that's hopefully be able, when we have those situations, be able to detect that a little easier. And then we updated academic qualifications. There's one other piece for the high school that will be coming next month. Dr. Stilson has been working with the athletics council on some policy regarding supplements. He wanted to be here to help explain that to you, and he couldn't be here tonight. So we'll bring that to you next month. Any questions about either the corporation or...
You said regarding what supplements?
Supplements, yeah. Most of the powder stuff.
So if there's only one valedictorian, would there still be a salutatorian, or what would you do? Or you just expect there's going to be...
We're anticipating we'll probably have multiples with only 1 or 2 decimal points.
Okay.
Back on, and I've just seen this in other, and I apologize if I should know the answer to this, but you talk about supplements. What are we up to, or where are we at regarding head injuries or concussions and protocols? Are we up to?
We are.
Dealt with that previously.
Yeah.
We have through our policies,
Yeah.
in addition to the handbook, has really been in good shape.
And there's training for coaches. And
Yes. Yeah, IHSAA requires them to do training on that, and Ryan Carroll does a really good job of tracking and monitoring. We do the concussion testing at the start of every sports season to get that baseline, and then anybody has one, they go through a protocol with them.
And maybe for any of you, what is the process for capturing this throughout the years? I imagine as you come together as a committee, what do we need to consider, what do we need to change? Like, you know, I'm assuming when you see something, is there a recapture? Do we need to address this in the handbook when that time comes? Or?
Yeah, we'll take notes throughout the year, and then we put together handbook committees with student representatives, representatives from the community, and representatives of the faculty. And then, like, for example, at the high school, we'll send an email to all the students and staff saying, hey, here are your representatives. If you have ideas, go talk to them. And we actually have one student who wants to have a meeting about possibly next year changes because she knows she missed the time for this year. And she'd email me and say, great, come on down, let's talk, and we'll take some notes. And do you want to be on the committee next year? That's usually a question we follow up, so, and we try to work it through student government as best we can as well. Like, when they come up with stuff, they'll come to us and then we try to make notes. Either way.
I mean, that's what the process is. I mean, essentially, like Ken says, each one of us do that within our own buildings, and we come together for a large meeting, and we bring those representatives with us, and we just make the discussion. We have a working copy, and we go through the working copy page by page, make any notes or clarifications that we want to do at that time.
The only difference is the elementary, I don't think the student voice probably is not quite as robust, just because we're not sending kindergarten students to analyze, but, so I think that probably is the only change in our law.
And at Riverside, we did have a student representative who was at our corporation meeting, and he was able to chime in if he wanted to, although he was pretty quiet that evening.
Be rather intimidating.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then actually, every building brings a student with as well, one of theirs. Most have multiples based on grade levels.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Very clear. Is this an action?
Just read it.
So that was for information to be received on an action item. Again, thank you, gentlemen, and all the folks involved in the process. Excuse me, 3.7, consider, I always love this, permission to apply for grants. Let's see what we're going to do with this one.
So before you see a list of the typical grants we apply for, the title, special ed grants, et cetera, that help support our programs. Additionally, this year, there are two competitive ones that we put on the list. One is the comprehensive counseling grant that we're pursuing through the Lilly Foundation that will help support a comprehensive counseling model, supporting students in their social, emotional, their academic, their college and career pursuits, and the counseling provided in those areas. Additionally, there's a grant from it's funneled through the University of Indianapolis called eWin. A little smaller, but it'll help us in specializing a particular career pathway to help students get through that, to advertise it more, and for that, we're pursuing it through precision manufacturing pathway. So these are presented to you tonight for your consideration.
You've seen the list or heard the explanation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Legislative report. Who wants this one? I know.
Sure. The session is concluded. Several bills obviously came through just to kind of capture what we've been talking and updating you about throughout the course of the session. The budget bill went through. When it comes to school funding, you'll see a slight increase in that foundational amount, significant decreases in the complexity index, special ed and CTE funding, slight bumps. Obviously, all that's dependent on students and everything else too. So, as it projects, we would see a slight dip in that regard. One for the first year and a slight increase the next year, but again, dependent upon students. The assessment bill passed and becomes effective for the 18-19 school year. A couple highlights from that include the grade 3 through 8 level. It's potentially a computer-based adaptive test in one session, not in 2 sessions in the spring. Shorter testing times are the projections there. Quicker results as far as the turnaround goes in that, so that could be good. The high school level, they're indicating that students must complete a graduation pathway requirement rather than pass a specific graduation exam. The details of that, I think, are going to be played out here as they continue to analyze that and put forth, send it to the state board for rules, and then put forth the request for proposals. So we'll see how that ends up. Options as well in that bill include studying how testing impacts school employee evaluations, and there will be some sort of recommendation that will come from the DOE out of this, indicating, regarding our graduation waiver requirements. We know what that will be. That they just charge the DOE to make a recommendation. So preschool bill went through, and it expanded the counties, increased funding. The big one, as far as kind of what we were keeping track of as well, in addition to the funding formula and the assessment bill, was that 1009 that talks about restructuring the funds for school corporations, getting rid of the general fund. That passed. An education fund, and then you take the property tax funds and capital projects, transportation, bus replacement, that becomes an operations fund, and pass some rules and regulations that are tied to that. Lots of folks are still analyzing that and determining its impact for schools. That will take effect in January of 2019. So as we go through the budget process, so this coming summer will be like we have, and then the following summer will be the new process. So.
I think we don't have to do it tonight, but I think there's some things we probably want to think about, even though it's not effective for 18. Some things we want to think about in setting the table for this budget for 18. And yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. The only other two that really stood out, referendums and remonstrances, those thresholds were increased, and then collective bargaining dates have shifted to not begin until September 15th to try to be in line with count date. So everything kind of shifted about a month later in those timelines. So.
Any questions or comments? Anything? I know you're following as well. If there's any.
Well, there's a few minor changes in the way performance grant money will be distributed among highly effective and effective teachers. They made the difference between the groups 25% minimum. Teachers will be also required to do suicide awareness prevention training and background checks.
5 years.
Yeah, every 5 years there. So there are some smaller bills that did pass that will affect just kind of training that teachers are doing, and even possible some compensation areas.
All right. Appreciate that report. We'll move on to section 4, superintendent remarks.
Okay, looking at our core values, 4.1, commitment to students. Many of us have wondered over the years if Brian Ames ever sleeps. It seems like he's always doing something to benefit students. Recently, Brian was named Music Teacher of the Year for the Michiana area. Brian will be recognized for this award at a banquet at Swan Lake, so congratulations to Brian. Puts a lot of time in. PHS recently held a carnival to raise money in conjunction with National Autism Awareness Month. The carnival raised money for the Marshall County Autism Resources. 4.3, high expectations. Last year, Riverside Intermediate came very close to being named the Certified Indiana STEM School. This year, they had their sights aimed high, and results were realized when they got a call that said they are now a certified STEM school from the Indiana Department of Education. So congratulations to everyone at Riverside and Mrs. Hershey and Mr. Welch for their hard work in getting to that point. Teamwork over the Memorial Day weekend, the marching bands from each high school in Marshall County will march as one band in the Indy 500 parade. Presently, the bands are working together to prepare for this event. I don't think we've ever had anything like that, so I think that's really neat. In a day when we're all trying to build our student bodies, they're getting together in band to march together. And, it's really neat.
So they have one uniform, or they all wear their own?
I think so. I think we volunteered to buy the uniforms for them. So those things get Mr. Samuelson riled up. No, they're all going to wear their uniforms.
Cool. I don't get around with it.
Never. In integrity, starting this week, Brooke Bussey, Director of Quality Programs, began working on with our health teachers on an aligned, rigorous curriculum for health. Once the units are established, Brooke will put together a parent committee to work with the health teachers to help create a viable curriculum that is supported by our community. 4.6 in enjoyment. Third graders at WDA were elated when their project it was called Dare to Dream in Color last year, was named Project of the Year by New Tech. They will receive their award this summer at the New Tech Conference in St. Louis. A couple other things. May is a busy month, and so if you want to jot these things down, we'll also send them out an email. May 10th is Teacher Appreciation Dinner at 4 o'clock in the Red Rock Cafe. We have 3 retirees that night that we'll be giving them their school clock. May 11th, we have 13 students who will be graduating from Ivy Tech with at least 30 college credits that they've earned while in high school. One of them has as high as 43 credits, which would make them a college sophomore next year when they go in their first year of college. May the 12th.
So what does that have to do with May 11th? Is that?
May 11th is the Ivy Tech graduation. I'm sorry. May 12th, Webster School is having a dedication of a bench to Mr. Robert Pickell. Bob was very active in recycling, and so this particular bench is being made out of the bottle caps that he collected over the years. And so I will attend that and speak for the school corporation. May 26th, well, I went out of order. May 17th, let's go back to that. That's the ISBA evening meeting. If you're going to go to that, please let Robin know. We will be hearing from School Board Association attorney who will talk about some of the bills that we're talking about as they do some final analysis of them.
That's at Christos?
Christos, yeah, 6 o'clock. May 19th at 8 o'clock a.m. is the Senior Awards Day in the gymnasium at the high school.
What time?
8 o'clock a.m. And May the 26th is the classified appreciation breakfast at Christos, and that starts at 7:30 a.m. We'd like to invite the board to attend any or all of these. And that is it from...
Well, before the next meeting, right, it's graduation too.
Oh, yeah, I didn't put that in there. Oh, that's after our next meeting, isn't it? When it's graduation.
June 2nd.
June 2nd, it's before our next meeting, so, yeah, June 2nd, and I don't have the time yet for meeting that, but I'll get that to you.
Graduation's at 7. Graduation's at 7.
We'll send you a report on time, a report when.
Oh, okay.
One more thing, the deadline for applications was Friday. Interviews are being set up starting at 6 o'clock on May the 9th here in the boardroom. And
Could you, is there an appointment sent out for that?
what?
Could we have one sent out?
I will send one.
Thank you.
Yeah, all these, we'll get these all out to you.
Well, I think most of the other ones I already have.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. That's a lot. Any questions for Dan? Okay.
Questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, who are the 3 teachers that are retiring this year then?
Let's see. We got Rita Large, who is a speech pathology, and then Denise Ecker from junior high math, and then myself.
Thank you. Give yourself a call.
Congratulations. I wouldn't put a battery in it, though.
Will you need a copy? Any other questions? Okay, back to section 5, audience participation. Are there questions or comments from the audience?
I just have one question. A GO bond.
Actually, it's an acronym, GO, general obligation.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's not, okay, no worries. Any other questions or comments?
Yes. Dr. Tyree, you were just talking, were you referring to the candidates for your replacement?
Yes.
Those interviews, is that what you were referring to on the
Yes.
9th? I had asked you yesterday when we interviewed, and you weren't able to answer, but I'll ask, you referred to the board when I asked you the question. So I'll ask it now in front of the entire board, and that is, will the public and/or parents have the opportunity to be involved in the selection, in any part of that process of the selection of the new superintendent?
Well, that's a broad question, so I'm going to answer it this way. If there are comments, input, suggestions that anybody in the community has in terms of what, and I'm going to assume something, so if I'm wrong, you can correct me. The assumption I have is you're talking about what characteristics or what to look for, or are you talking about individually the people that are interviewed?
I guess, well, I don't know, I'd have to hear what more people have to say about it. Personally, I would say, I know you have, I think, 17 candidates currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say after you folks narrowed it down to 5 or 6, that I would think that, parents would be interested in those people specifically, and what their qualifications are, what their backgrounds are, what their philosophy is, their approach. Folks, what do you think? Somebody speak up.
I like that.
Like some kind of public open forum where people can just ask them questions so they can hear their words as opposed to just a piece of paper telling their backgrounds, their qualifications, their history, and that. So people can actually hear them talk and kind of get a feel for who that person is that's going to be in charge of taking care of their kids for the next 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, or 12 years in these schools.
I appreciate the comments. I can tell you that's not, and I've gone through this twice here from it, that's not been specifically part of our process, and I'll give my opinion. I'm not going to speak for the whole board here, but the school board has certain responsibilities.
Sure.
And I do believe in a representative process, meaning that, and that's what I mean by providing
open,
input, et cetera,
transparent.
et cetera. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility for who, the board makes that determination.
I get that. I get that. Now,
And
I'm
sorry, and I don't know that a public interview is part of the process.
I don't, maybe those are, I didn't say that exact word. I just said some kind of open forum, like to meet the candidates, where you've got coffee and cookies and stuff, and they're just there, and the actual public can come and actually just talk to them, interact with them, ask them questions to see what kind of people that they are. The same way people in town, if they're going to be a council person or that, they get out and talk to the people. They get in front of the people.
A meet.
Yeah, just a basic meet and greet. Then the public that the board serves can say, hey, I talked to this and that, and then take input from the public at the back end of that prior to making the decision solely based on a piece of paper or talking just to them
themselves. I mean, you have to consider the public, their basic voice and that, and they're into, I have a sight speech, and I think I get caught, intuition of just interacting with people that, as I pointed out, are going to be taking care of their kids' future for the next 6, 8, 10 years.
I appreciate the input, and as we come together and do the interview process, we'll certainly see if we can lead, or if the board wants to do that.
Okay. Well, you say if the board wants to do that. I think what we're saying is we want to do that.
Sir, that's not your decision. That's the decision of this board.
Well, I don't necessarily agree. You know, we in public are paying for the schools.
You have your own
We're paying for the
opinions.
teacher salaries and administrator salaries. I think the public deserves to play a part in this process.
You have your opinions, and I respect that. Some of these people that have applied, their corporations where they work are not even aware of it.
Well, and I get that, I totally get that. After it's gotten down to maybe 2 or 3, then, you know, I don't think it's that much to ask. Now, if it isn't something that is common, that has been done at this point, maybe it can't be done for this time, but how can it be something, or something put into the board or into the basic process so that the public can be more involved in picking the people that are in charge of our kids' future? Because I think at this point, many people feel like we are part of the board after you're put on the board. People go out and they say, I'm going to be on the school board, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I'm going to do this for you know, the whole town. But then after they get on that board, it feels as there's a disconnect between the public and the board. And that's just the basic feeling that I have. In the last 3 years since I'm open, I've talked to more students, more parents, and more teachers probably than anybody on the board has. Just
Sir, can I
basic
respond to that?
traffic.
I've been in your establishment probably 5 or 6 times. I've never received one comment from you regarding what your thoughts are regarding the school.
Well,
And I'm not done yet.
Well, I don't think
I'm
I
not
was
done
done
yet.
either.
I'm not
And
done
I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying that I've spoken to parents, students, kids, and that, and they feel that there's a disconnect. And I'm just telling you what other people say. Now, I don't talk to every customer in there, and I'm not talking to you or any of the others here on it. I'm just saying in general talking, and I am not getting on you all.
Take this gentleman's question right here. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, as far as Mr. Tyree, we, in the town, we knew the quality of the man, whereas if it's people coming from...
We took him anyway, right?
If it's, you know, because I mean, like my parents, you know, had Mr. Tyree as a teacher. If it's someone from out of state or way out of the area, you know, we have, you know, we wouldn't know that person from Adam, essentially.
Sure.
I think that might be a part of the concern.
I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Is there something?
We're providing some latitude here. We do have, these people over here are getting, we need some, just for the record, if you don't mind names.
No, it's just is there something we can do to be more involved? I think it's kind of the general idea.
I'm sorry?
There's something we can do to be more involved in the process.
Sure.
Well, I would say to you that if you have any questions or concerns or things that you want us to address with these candidates during the interview process, jot down, get them to me.
Okay.
Be glad to.
So we need to hear. Thank you.
Okay, if I could ask this, I don't think it was answered. So if it can't be done at this time, how can the laws of the board be changed so that the people can be more involved in the picking of our school board president? As opposed to just picking 8 people or that to be on the board and then it's up to them. I mean, I think it would be great if there was some interaction with both.
This is an example of not good communication because I'm not, you're putting me on the spot.
I'm just asking a simple question.
And I'm
at some
accepting the
point-
suggestion and we'll take it under consideration.
Okay. And
All I'm saying is and I don't need to get frustrated with you, I really don't.
And I'm not trying to be either.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand this whole thing and trying to give some input, which it seems that different groups ask.
I mean, there's
for, but they
a suggestion in the comments that school board members do not make themselves available or open to input, and I just don't know where that's coming from. I live in this community, have my whole life.
No,
I'm not done yet. And being on here for 20-plus years, our meetings are, this is 10 times more people than we ever get showing up to a school board meeting. And it's frustrating when we go through, we are probably, but we're one of the largest corporations in this county. And we try. I don't know how many times and the media does a good job of getting information out there on what's on our agenda, what is being discussed. We go through a $35+ million budget every year. Nobody shows up. I can't go around to everybody's home and go through that budget. I can't go around to everybody's home and go through a list of candidates for school board. This is physically not possible. There is a structure set up and it's open. And our members are published. The central office is available. I don't know what more you want us to do.
I just have been asking how it could possibly be that the people could be more involved. That's all I was asking. I'm not trying to attack you or to attack anybody or,
I'm just suggesting that our meetings are every month and sometimes more than once every month. And we welcome anyone to come and speak to agenda items. Yes, did you have a question?
Me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you raised your hand. Maybe I got.
I have something to say, but I don't feel I'm in the quite proper capacity.
Yes, ma'am.
Which things to-
And really, we're providing some latitude here, so I hope everybody appreciates it. We really don't. Go ahead.
I got a question kind of based on what we said. When you go through the process of looking for one, will the paper have in there who you're interviewing and their background, so people like us can take a look at it, and then they're interviewing this person, they're from this state, it may pop up a question for us, we can then submit to you.
Yeah, and I hope you can appreciate that and put yourself in the shoes of the candidates that, and Mr. Pickerton touched on it, that they're all currently employed. And so the short answer would be no, because of the confidentiality that they request to put their name in the hat, if you will, to be considered. So unfortunately, that's not, if we did it that way, I don't know that we would get anybody to apply. If that makes sense. Any other questions?
So, just to clarify, so then the public won't know who's being talked to or who's been picked till after they're picked to protect that person's job, as opposed to the people knowing who's going to be, and I'm just asking because this is all new to me, and I ask a lot of questions. That's something that my father always told us to do.
When folks make their application, they, many times, I think in most, if not all, situations here, make a request to a confidentiality for a period of time, and I think we can all appreciate the reason why.
Yes, I can. After it gets down to the 2 or 3, you guys are, hey, it's going to be either of these 2 or 3 people. At some point, they have to maybe, just because it's.
It's frustrating, I get it.
Yeah, and all I'm trying to, in a sense, do is to understand this and figure this out.
And all I can, I mean, we, to the extent that we violate that trust,
But you got the trust of the people to can also think of too. That's the only thing that, you know,
well,
if.
by the same token, I have to suggest that in whether or not you're happy with the people sitting on the school board is a separate issue. But there is a process for the trust that we all put in a great deal of time to try to make the best decisions.
I understand that, and I appreciate that very, very much. I'm just asking,
Yeah,
you know.
yes.
Todd, if I could step in, you've given some good reasons for confidentiality, but the bottom line is, as a personnel matter, a hiring decision and hiring information has to be kept confidential. You're not allowed by law to disclose who the candidates are, any information about them during the hiring process.
Oh, okay.
I should have you answer questions.
Yeah, well, I'm just.
You do a great job, so I give you a chance.
So even.
Okay. If you're not aware of
It's the distinction, and John, just
I understand that.
let me talk,
one
John.
question, which will just is the people that are on the board, or that are they employed by the public?
No, they're not technically employed. So
Okay.
the board members themselves are elected officials.
Okay, how about the
So the selection of board
That's the
members,
question.
the superintendent is an employee of the school corporation.
Okay,
And he is,
are they by de
he or
facto
she is.
employed by the taxpayers of the city or the county or state? I'm just asking.
It's a loaded question, John. The superintendent is an employee of the school corporation, and the school board is the body that makes the hiring decision of the superintendent. So they are tasked with hiring, firing, making any other personnel decisions regarding the superintendent. But the superintendent is an employee, just like any teacher, any custodian, any other employee of the corporation. The board members are publicly elected officials, so there's a very different process. That's why it's a public process. Your representative, who sets policy for the corporation and who is answerable to you as a voter and a resident, are the board members. So you have a right to know who they are, who the candidates are, and be involved in that process. But the hiring of the superintendent is a personnel matter, and by law, just like any other. I mean, you have employees, so you know about employment law. Like any other personnel matter, it has to be kept confidential by law.
But a person that I hire to scoop doesn't have the effect that a superintendent would have on our town as that.
But they
I'm not
are
arguing.
each afforded the same rights under the law.
It's the same, it's the same legal situation.
It's one thing to elect you when you appoint a superintendent, and for some reason, it's not a good choice. We're stuck with that decision. We can unelect you, I'm not trying to, but we can unelect you, but we're stuck with that superintendent. So that's what concerned me. I've been in that situation when my child was in kindergarten.
If that superintendent doesn't do his job, he's gonna be fired. It's very simple.
Well, what's his main job?
His main job?
Yeah, what do you feel like your main job is as superintendent? If I was to fill your shoes, what's my main job?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. My main job is to make sure that the school board policies and guidelines are carried out in day-to-day business.
Well, I guess we need to talk to who's in charge of education, since the test scores have declined for 5 years in a row.
Are there any other questions this evening? Yes, sir. We know who you are, but so.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Skyler. Yeah, I'm a former teacher. I remember when it was right before Dan came on, the board came around to different schools, and I think a good thing he did was during school board meetings, you came to each school and you had the public come in, and the teachers were there too, and you asked what kind of qualities we thought we needed in a superintendent. we gave our ideas, and you wrote them down. I think that was a good thing. So you got a pretty good idea of what we thought we needed in a superintendent. And it wasn't, we didn't talk about, we wanted this man or this man or this man, or we wanted this man from this area or this area. We gave our ideas on what kind of qualities we wanted in a person to lead us. So I thought that was the main thing, get those ideas through.
And as a follow-up, Jeff, I've talked to many teachers, I've talked to many administrators about the very same thing you just brought up. And I've talked to many parents, and I've talked to many people in the community about the very same thing. And I feel very qualified to sit here and make a decision on the best person that I can choose as superintendent.
And you're one that comes into the classroom, and you came in your mind when I was a teacher, talked to me.
That's right.
And asked me questions.
And being a former teacher and a coach and administrator, and having kids in this school corporation, and graduate from Plymouth High School, I feel very qualified that I can pick the best person for this school corporation as superintendent.
Right.
And if any of you people out there can do a better job, run for the school board and get elected.
And I know the people on the board, most of them anyways. I'm not sure. I'm not sure you're good on the board.
I'm new, so I'm learning.
I'm sure you're. But I know, I've worked with all these people.
Oh, yeah.
So
You're a good teacher.
yeah. And so I have confidence. in you.
So, just real quick, you said items that we would like to discuss. I mean, you said this is the largest group that you've had in a couple of decades, so, I mean, that's obviously a good thing. But you said items for discussion for next month's meeting are to be submitted, so you have ample time to prepare for proper dialogue. So in order for me to properly do that, do you have bylaws or something to where, so I know I'm following the right rules as far as submitting those things, or where am I going to submit them, or there's a deadline?
Over here.
Excuse me?
Central office over here.
So I just go
You
call,
send them
talk
to
to
me.
them.
You can send them to me. I'll get them to the board.
All right.
If you wait after, I can give you contact information.
All right, okay.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I keep asking this because for their benefit, because of the minutes. Could we have your name, please?
My name's Richard Boken.
Thank you.
L-O-K-U-N.
Any other questions? Thank you. Any additional or comments or questions from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?